Good morning, Katie Powell here with Triple Point Industries. Today I'm going to do a quick video tutorial on how to navigate through our e-service, which is called Triple Point Reports. This is what you will be using to input your chlorine and temperature readings on a weekly basis, or whatever frequency that you have set up for your facility. Some may be monthly, some may be weekly. So first of all, we're going to go to www.triplepointreports.com, and this will be your main screen. Once we get here, you will input your username that you have been given and your temporary password to begin with. The first time you log in, you'll be asked to change your password, so you'll go ahead and follow those steps. Make sure you write that down so that you have a quick reference to go back to if you forget your password. It will ask you to automatically change it every 90 days, so you will have to create a new password every 3 months. Go ahead and sign in. Sometimes it is a bit slow, depending on the day. It should bring you to a home screen. Go ahead and click on the Show All tab. And I'm just going to show you with a quick example that I have set up here. When you log in, you should automatically see all of these fields filled out up top and with your facility name, and this may say nursing home and then domestic water system over here. But for now, I'm going to use our facility as an example. And if this shows up red, that means you'll have to click it and choose a facility. There should not be multiple options, but if there are, that's why it'll be red, and it will not work unless you have all of these chosen. First thing you will do is create report, and you'll choose operator. And once this pulls up, you'll see draft at the top, and that's where this will just be your starting draft until you finalize it. The report name, you can name it maybe March week 1, or you can name it your facility name and the date, whichever you prefer. And say you go ahead and do chlorine readings on Tuesdays, but you don't get around to putting in your report until Wednesday or Thursday, which is fine. You just want to make sure you put in your numbers as soon as possible. But this calendar button, you'll go ahead and choose that as the day that you did your testing. And then you can choose this time in here. You can put a time that you started your testing or finished it, whichever you prefer. All right, then you'll scroll down. You'll see your facility name here and the address and the phone number over here. And over on this side, it'll generate a report number, and recorded by, this will always be the name that you're logging in with. So whichever name or email that you have that you're logging in with, that's what'll show up over here. This is the domestic water system. And then now here you'll see all of the rooms which you will be responsible for testing. We may have to make changes along the way, and that's perfectly fine. It's easy to make a change or add a room or remove a room, whatever we need to do. The boxes that allow you to type in are the only boxes you'll need to put numbers in. So for instance, this room right here, this is a room. This would be a faucet. This would most likely be a room at the end of a hallway, the furthest from a hot water heater. So the only thing we're concerned with there is the temperature. So you're going to put in your temperature reading. And this is also a room, so it will have a temperature reading only. Same here. And then we go down here and you see B-Wing ice machine. And that will be your free chlorine. So the ice machines, we're only concerned with the chlorine. So you'll put in your chlorine reading there. And here's another ice machine. And we are only doing free chlorine. We are mainly concerned with the free chlorine, as if you've seen my other video on how to use the chlorine meters. The free chlorine is your leftover chlorine after it's already been used up in the system with other things. So that's what's left over for disinfectant. So if you have at least 0.2 parts per million of free chlorine, then you have plenty in your system to take care of any other bacteria that may be there. And then you may also have a facility that has a decorative fountain. And if that's the case, we may ask you to test chlorine on that if you're keeping chlorine tablets in it to make sure that it's working properly. So we will put chlorine there. This is another room. So I'm just going to show you what it does if it is out of range. Let's say 87 degrees. And this ice machine, say 0.1. So it will give you colors depending on how far out of range you are. For example, the system temperature. This one might just be slightly out of range, but say it goes down to 70 degrees, that's going to show red because that's significantly out of range. So we're going to leave it at maybe 90. And then it's yellow, which just, there's certain levels. If it's a certain amount out of range, it'll be yellow. If it's mid out of range, it'll be orange. And big time out of range, it will be red. So we'll change this back to 95. Now, let's see, let's close that. Once you get done entering your numbers, if you do have something as this temperature that shows it turns a different color other than green because it's out of range. If you know what's going on, let's say you took your sample right in the middle of shower time. And you can make a note of that in your box so that when you go back and look at it, you know what was wrong with it. Or if you have to fill out a work order or a corrective action, you know what was wrong and you're documenting that so that you can tell them you're working on it and trying to figure out what's happening. If you are changing a recirculating pump, you can note that as well, and that should probably be noted anytime you change a pump. You can note that anywhere. We've got closing comments, so if a certain hallway or certain wing or certain unit section of the facility has a recirculating pump being replaced, you may want to note that regardless at the time of that in your closing comments on those temperature readings, just so you can always go back and there's always documentation on why something was low or high or out of range. So all of these facilities that you see listed up here have boxes down here. So if you need to make a comment for something in particular, specifically, say an ice machine, you would click on this little pencil and it will give you a text box to make any notes that you need to. Then you can make closing comments. If, for example, you have multiple people in your facility putting in these numbers on a weekly basis, you may note that tested by, and whoever it was that tested it that day. If you have multiple people, that way there's always a name to it, because whatever name shows up here, this will always be the same with one login. But if you have multiple people, you can note that down here, which one was doing the testing. So once you're finished, you have two options from here. You can go ahead and save final if you're confident, or you can save draft and you can view it. If you need someone else to look over it, they can go back and double check your numbers and make sure everything's there. This gives you, it'll show draft. You can go back, double check numbers, see if there's anything that you need to note in your notes about anything out of range. An ice machine, you may note that this is still a carbon filter. We're working on trying to change it out. The carbon filters, we're recommending you change all of those so that it does not remove your chlorine, which is your disinfectant. Your comments will show up down here, and then once it's all done, you can save as final. Well, you have to go back and edit draft, and then you can save it as final once you're completely done. I'm not going to save this since this is just an example. And then, let's go back to the home screen. Once you log back in, once you're all done, when that is a final report, you will be able to go to View Report Operator, and they will all show up right here. So this is the draft that I just did, and you can click on it and view that again. So once this is final, they'll all be listed right here, and you can click on it and go back anytime you need to. If you have a certain date, this is the date that you put the report in. So that's why if you do the testing a day or two before, you may want to put the date in the name of the report so that you know this is the date I did the testing, this is the date I put the report in. And you can easily distinguish that. Now, once you have entered in so many reports for months, you can go back and you can trend things and you can find a graph of everything. However, that may be a different video once we have more data in the system to go back and I can show you how to do trending, pulling graphs, printing multiple reports at once. And that should get you everything you need for how to put in your chlorine and your temperature readings. And like I said, if we need to make any changes along the way, that's easy to do. We can change a room number, change a ice machine if you are no longer using that one, or if we need to add some ice machines, whatever the case may be, we can always go back and make changes. And that is our triple point reports tutorial. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to call or email me, and I'll be happy to help. Thank you.